Well, hello, friends. Good morning and good afternoon. I'm Jeff Miller from ERPA. Thank you for setting aside 45 minutes today to join our discussion where customers are going to be sharing the advantages of PeopleSoft on AWS. A couple of housekeeping matters before we get going. All of your microphones have been muted for this session, but the chat is available and we would love for you to engage with us there. I'll be monitoring the chat for any questions that you type in that I could reflect to our special guests today. Following our discussion today, a very brief survey is going to hit your inbox, and we'd be grateful if you would take about 45 seconds to complete it for us and give us some feedback. And then finally, many of you often ask if our recording and slides are going to be available. Yes, you will get an email in a few business days with links to the recording and the slide deck, and you can review the content yourself, or of course, send those links to someone else who might benefit from the content. Here's our agenda today. Real briefly, in about 2 or 3 sentences, I'm going to tell you a little bit about ERPA for those of you who don't know us. And then our guests are going to introduce themselves. And we're going to have a great conversation with a couple of wonderful customers, and then a little bit of conclusion. So here's a eyesore slide about ERPA and our PeopleSoft practice and our business there. Would love for you to learn more about us from this slide. We support customers throughout their entire life cycle on PeopleSoft. Our flexible engagement model and our cost-effective approach benefits PeopleSoft customers with managed services, modernizing to the cloud, fluid implementation, path to SaaS, and just about anything else that you can think of listed on this slide, and much, much more. But today is all about modernizing PeopleSoft with AWS. What's in store for you today is a rich discussion by 2 PeopleSoft experts, Todd Smoke, Executive Director of Technology Solutions at Illinois State University, and Ann Bushnell, Business Systems Manager at CorVel Corporation. And I'm going to invite them to introduce themselves to you. Todd, tell us a little bit about yourself, if you would.
Sure, thanks, Jeff. Hey, good morning, everyone. Live from Central Illinois, Bloomington Normal, home of Illinois State Redbirds. Not to be confused with the St. Louis Cardinals, even though our logos may look very similar. I am the Executive Director of Technology Solutions in charge of enterprise applications at the university here, and I have been responsible for the PeopleSoft team for the last 12 years. Actually, I started here with just the PeopleSoft team, and then I took on the rest of the enterprise applications too. And we've had a evolution in that growth here at Illinois State. And so we've evolved, modernized, added additional footprint in our ERP space. So I've been here the whole time, and I'll be able to tell you some stories about what we've learned along the way. And I think that's the intention, and how some of that may or may not be applicable to you. I hope it is.
That's what we're here for, Todd. Thank you so much for joining, Todd, and we look forward to it. Ann, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Ann Bushnell. You'll have to excuse me. I've been fighting a bug. Um, I have been with CorVel Corporation for almost 24 years now. When I started with CorVel, we had just a few AR business units and the GL functioning. Right now, we have over 100 AR business units. We support over 500 users in that application. We have fixed assets and AP running through PeopleSoft as well. My team and I handle both PeopleSoft and our expense application, travel and expense, called Navan. And on a personal note, I don't think I've ever met a hobby I haven't enjoyed doing. I currently, in my bandwidth, have, let's see, stained glass, knitting, crocheting, cake decorating, you name it, I've tried it. Kickboxing, taekwondo, motorcycle endorsement, the whole gamut. So yeah, that's a little bit
That
about
is a
me.
broad spectrum of hobbies.
It really is.
I love it. I love it. Well, welcome, Ann, and thank you for joining today. Todd and Ann, it's so good to have you here. So this is going to be basically a series of questions, and I'm going to pitch them out to y'all and just let you guys give us your rich experience and tell us your stories. So Todd, I'm going to pitch this one to you first, and then when Todd finishes, Ann, we would love to hear your thoughts as well. So Todd, what was your application landscape at the beginning of your journey?
Well, the university put in PeopleSoft HCM for HR payroll back around 2011. replacing legacy mainframe custom in-house applications that they were using for that. And that's about the right around that time it went live is about the time I joined and took over leadership of that group, the support group, which was responsible for on-premise installation and support, Oracle database backend. At that time, I think we were using AIX front end, um, to host the application. The um, all that infrastructure setup application was new to the university. Um, Over time, we needed to finish replacing the rest of our mainframe applications. And so in 2014, 2015, we brought on PeopleSoft Campus Solutions to handle the student information side of the business. We have not yet moved our financial application. So in terms of PeopleSoft, the PeopleSoft is running HR and payroll, and it's running the Campus Solutions side. We use an even older product for the finance side that we won't get into today, that we independently host in AWS actually. But as part of that, we were running on premise, but when we went to move toward Campus Solutions, we were like, we already recognized that we were struggling to keep up to date with the updates and manage the environment. And when we talked about really making it so much larger to add, the dev tests, sup, environments for Campus Solutions as well, we were worried about how we were going to do that with our personnel, how we were going to staff up appropriately for it. And so we recognized the need to look into managed services way back then. And we did. And we actually moved to the mothership and we let Oracle provide managed services directly for us for 5 years. And we learned a lot about that and managed services in the process. That was really our largest adventure into some kind of managed services arrangement. And through that, we learned a lot about what we liked and what we didn't like, what we wanted, and how that could evolve for the better or worse over time. And then we put out another RFP and said, okay, we're looking for a managed services partner. This was about 4 years ago, and we selected ERPA, and we've been running with ERPA since then in AWS. So we made the transition, we made the move, and that's where we're at today.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I started with the company 24 years ago, there was just two people on the PeopleSoft project managing all users, all applications. At that point, like I mentioned, we were on just GL and we had a couple of AR business units. In the time that I've been here, we have grown tremendously. Um, we put through probably, I think we archive every year, and we archive the AR side with about 67, 68 million rows of data every year. So it's a pretty large footprint for the AR application itself. We have, yeah, I think probably 130 AR business units and fixed assets in the whole shebang. So one of the biggest challenges that we have faced with this is that PeopleSoft doesn't roll up to or through the IT department. PeopleSoft is managed and reports up through accounting. Um, so our application landscape at the beginning is we've got PeopleSoft and we've got our in-house DBAs and our in-house IT staff that are not PeopleSoft experts. And we all know that PeopleSoft is a little bit of a different beast and it takes some unique knowledge. So um, that's one of our challenges with our beginning steps that we had.
Awesome. Awesome. I've got a number of more questions, and Ann, I'm going to pitch this one to you first since you're already talking to us. How did you know when it was time to do something different? Or maybe another way to say it, what were the indicators and compelling factors that led you to make changes? And then, Ann, when you finish, Todd, we'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Well, reporting up through accounting, we know that expense and money is the big motivator for us accounting types. Having an in-house IT department, in-house server farm, all of that is a very expensive. Keeping up on the technology, making sure everything is functioning, having the backups, the redundant servers and all that. It's very expensive. That's one big motivator for us. We also, in 2019 at CorVel, had a security incident where someone tried to access our systems. Um, the attempt was caught early. We locked everything out. But the problem with that, or one of the issues that we had with that, is that we completely shut down all of our systems at that time to, you know, figure out what was going on, how they got in, how to stop it, did they get data, have law enforcement involved in the whole process as well. Um, we were right in the middle of our quarterly audit. We were right in the middle of our fiscal year end audit. The ball never stops rolling when you're in accounting. So getting our system back up and running was key to being able to complete the audit. Our payroll system was hosted. We were using UKG, or still are using UKG, which was a cloud based product. Everyone was still able to get paid. Um, I think everybody knows that everybody is moving more towards a cloud-based system just because of the expense and all of that. So that really, I don't think if the security incident had happened, that the discussion would have happened for us as quickly to move. But I'm not thankful that it happened, but I'm thankful that it brought that discussion to the forefront. So.
Good insights. Thank you. Todd.
Yeah, quite a few things at play here, right? Staffing and resourcing was an early motivator for us to move into managed services. We're centrally located in Illinois, a couple hours south of Chicago, couple hours northeast of St. Louis, a couple hours west of Indianapolis. Really a trifecta, but we're in a college-sized town, 130,000 people. Of course, it grows when the students are here. Um, we are also the headquarters of State Farm. And Caterpillar used to have their headquarters 45 minutes away. Their headquarters, I think, has moved to Florida. The majority of their operations still there. Both those players pay corporate salaries, and they were running PeopleSoft at the time. So recruitment for staffing was a big deal, and something we couldn't compete with on a pay scale level. Um, Keeping up with updates in our environment. We noticed that early on, like, okay, we're not able to keep up with the cadence of updates and security updates and all these things that are coming along with the staffing size we have. So we knew that was a risk. And then what we noticed when we were working with the Oracle Managed Cloud is we're having performance issues. And on a fixed price contract for services, even though performance was called out for it to be addressed, it was easier to be like, well, we can rebate you something, we can, as opposed to really fixing the root cause of the problem, because root cause problems in that time would require new hardware acquisition that wasn't budgeted for by the vendor, that also wasn't within the contract for them to charge us for. So as the performance continued to decline, there was less motivation for them to really, I think, want to address it. And then we also found, I don't want to call them hidden costs, but the cost of storage and that did not line up with what was coming alive in the modern public cloud infrastructure. I mean, we see what storage costs there, and we're going, wait, why are we being asked to pay so much for storage? And we noticed that when we would get notified, like, hey, you're using this amount of storage, you're gonna have to pay for more, you're gonna have to grow your storage. We had to work really hard to basically try to reverse audit an environment that we didn't have access to ask really tough questions like, wait, why are these backup files still on our servers? Like, they should have been removed after that upgrade was done. That's what's taking up all the space. We don't actually need to do storage. We need proactive cleanup. We need proactive maintenance. Oh, you can put in a ticket to have someone delete a file. I don't know which file. I can't see the server. That's not my responsibility. But that proactiveness was missing from our arrangement, and we realized those are some of the things where we're like, well, we need something different. We need something that gives us greater visibility into our resources and assets. That someone who's going to take a proactive approach with us, right? That does the work for us, but again, we can walk side by side. That's why we decided to put this out for RFP. We wanted public cloud pricing for infrastructure. Like this is a commodity. This side of that environment is a commodity. Why should I be paying a premium or excess when those prices are public? Everyone's advertising, and there's substantial discounts typically even to higher ed, like from AWS and these providers. Like, why aren't we taking advantage of that or getting that? And can that ultimately reduce our overall cost for what we're paying? The answer is yes, it could, and we knew that, so that's why we set out to kind of do something different. And that's where we did 4 years ago.
Your answers are fascinating because, Anne, clearly there was one prevalent, compelling factor for you. There may have been others, but there's one that really stood out above the others. And Todd, you really have a half dozen, aggregate factors that were compelling. So I can almost hear the heads nodding in understanding with those who are joining us, hearing your stories, because probably they're in one boat or the other. They have one really, really prevalent, compelling factor that they're facing right now, or Todd, like you, they've got a half dozen that they're facing as they consider these transitions. Todd, while you're still unmuted, if you wouldn't mind taking this next one, please talk about the resourcing challenges you faced to manage your systems. And then, Anne, if you wouldn't mind sharing your thoughts afterward.
Well, at our location, it's hard to get net new positions approved, right, by by the powers that be, right, and then to get enough approved that would actually be able to run this environment. That's still a substantial. Now we could have gone down that path, but the reality is we knew we couldn't hire them. Like I was talking about our demographic location, we're just like, there's no way that we're going to be able to attract and retain um, people with this knowledge and this experience to this area. And so we knew like that's just going to be an uphill battle. We had already experienced it, on a small scale, trying to do that ourselves. And so we knew like, okay, it's not something we can do. We're not in a big city area that has enough of this skill set and presence, and we know that it's not necessarily heavily trained anymore or anything. So it just did not seem likely that we would be able to attract. We struggled just with getting Oracle DBAs, that skill here, and our DBA team still to this day is because they service more than just this application, is just two Oracle DBAs. That's all we can get. That's all we can maintain really for our environment. But that's still again a hard to recruit and attract the talent for that space. And so we just kind of knew that going into it, and we said, well, what is an alternative strategy? Someone who has a more consistent, a bigger footprint, can that would be able to absorb the capacity of a single staff person leaving was detrimental to our health, and so we knew we couldn't handle that on our own here. We'd be run too tight from a staffing perspective to handle
Anne?
So with our team, it's myself and I have two people that work for me. Um, we support over 500 people trying to, you know, trying to know everything we can about all of the different modules that we have. It's not possible to be experts in all fields, support everything that we do. Um, so trying to find a system, and I don't think I mentioned it before, but we are a Microsoft shop at CorVel. So PeopleSoft is housed on a SQL Server database, not Oracle, which is a little unusual. Um, so we don't have DBAs on staff. We do have DBAs that work for CorVel, but they are not specifically assigned to PeopleSoft. If we need DBA time, we've got to ask for it. Um, their priority is working on systems that bring in revenue. They're not, their priority isn't to assist accounting, trying to get new bells and whistles in place and trying to figure out things. So trying to get our own internal staff's time, it has been a huge challenge. Um, and just being able to support, such a huge application, being so very streamlined like we are,
Mhm.
it's a great challenge.
Mhm. No doubt. So, what I think I know, but our audience is about to learn, is that Todd, I believe you've been on AWS for about 4 years, and Ann, I believe you've been on AWS for about 4 days, and so we have a really wonderful two different, very different perspectives and levels of experience on AWS. So Todd, I want to pitch this to you first. How did the move to managed services on AWS help you with your staffing and application optimization challenges? And then Ann, it's a little bit more of anticipatory for you because you're so new on AWS. Todd?
Yeah, I mean, AWS, well, it just works. Their cloud infrastructure is proven, it's been around, it performs well. The tools and technologies there that help us right size, scale appropriately to the performance needs we have at different times of the year, especially. Um, all that tools and technology, the tools that allow us to refresh a dev and test environment with production data quickly to maintain those. um, when we first went live, we realized we didn't have enough performance in certain layers, like our integration broker layer, and we needed to scale that up. Well, you could do it silently inside AWS. You tell it to replace one server type with a new server type, click a button, and 45 minutes later, there's a slight blip in the network, and all of a sudden the new server is coming up running all of that load. It's slick, honestly. It's tight. It's managed well. It really has helped us stay current with our updates, with our security, um, meet the performance needs that the university had for sure. I mean, we have obviously uh, we support 3,500 employee full-time employee users, another 5,000 student employees, and of course the 20,000 student population in our environment. So our team is a little bit bigger than Ann's, I would say. Like, we still have PeopleSoft technical analysts who are really assigned to help our business units, because this we're now in central IT, right? So to help our business units get the most value out of those applications, and that's what their focus is now more than ever. It's not about maintaining the patching and maintaining the technical requirements of the software. It's about going out there going, hey, how can we make this system work for you? It's really about optimization and maximizing the value that we're getting out of the tool. We still have a group of people that wear an admin hat. Their knowledge is not heavy in installation and configuration, though. It is simply about scheduling and working around all the different business unit schedules when it comes to applying security updates, applying patches, making sure that testing happens, making sure that we still are making all the right steps that make the moves safe within that environment. And we still have in-house developers to do, customizations and add-ons to our environment. So we still do a lot of that ourselves, but that's where we can focus on, and those are things that we can still be successful at while really relying on the AWS infrastructure just to work. And the costs are transparent because they're public and they're shared, and that stuff is nice, right? And so there's never a question of like, hey, if this is not working and we need more, yeah, it's right there. It's public. It's not a surprise of what it would cost to do something different, to do something extra. That's a real beauty of it. But it really just is a lot smoother, and it's a lot more stable. That environment, the whole thing is way more stable than it ever has been. When we were in the Oracle managed cloud services, I would tell you that, like, there were a couple times of the year that we're dreading when registration would happen, and our business practice was allow thousands of students. It's like buying Taylor Swift tickets or whatever at Ticketmaster. Like, a bunch of people show up all at once, the system would get overloaded, crawl to its knees, pseudo crash, and come back. We knew what was happening, but the vendor didn't really want to do anything to resolve it. And it was a cringe time for us. But
Mhm.
with the infrastructure in AWS, the scaling and the right size solutions, and to be able to see that in real time just allowed us to, we can flex basically around those registration periods and not have that where we don't worry about this environment going down on us. We don't worry about our users tracking how many outages we've had this year or this month, because they used to keep score on us. And that's not a good place to be. I mean, they were really just dissatisfied with the performance to the point that they were blaming the software product when really maybe some of it was infrastructure setup and stuff we were relying on the vendor to deliver for us too, just really not meeting expectations. All of that is been left at the wayside now, and everyone can focus in on maximizing the value that we get out of our core ERP, which is really important because it is the most expensive system that we run for the most part.
Great detail and great insights. And
Well, everything that Todd said and more. Yeah, he basically covered everything that we're looking forward to with the AWS application. Another thing that was a real driver for us in selecting Amazon, the AWS environment, was the benefit of the ERPA's Active Genie offering that was really appealing to us for the monitoring and just the insight into what's going on in the system. Um, Most of our in-house billing systems and whatnot, they've gone to Azure. So it was kind of a fight to get to AWS, get somebody to take us seriously. It's like, this is an offering, this is going to help us. And this is the direction we want to move. Plus the fact, keeping all your eggs in one basket, let's spread things out a little bit. But yeah, we're really we struggle as well with the PUM updates. It's one of the things that we'll be getting back on track. I don't know of anybody that is stays up and current on those, and they don't struggle with keeping their PUMs, prior to moving to an AWS environment, hosted environment. So yeah, we're really looking forward to um, getting getting on track with our pumps, staying up, the security patches and all that. It's a constant battle to keep up on that, and just the whole cost. Again, for accounting, cost is key. So that's us.
okay, you brought up pump strategy, so that tees up my next question, and I'm just going to let you talk to it, Anne, first, and then Todd will pile on after you finish with your thoughts.
Yeah, so historically speaking, we haven't really had a PUM policy. It's We knew we needed to keep up on them, trying to do that while maintaining a day-to-day system, trying to get users in and testing. It's always a huge challenge. So we're behind. We've always been behind, but with the new move to AWS being, all of 4 days in, one of the key things for this next year is to get caught up on PUMs, get a strategy in place for, keeping current. Not be the first adapters, because you never want to do that, but be the middle of the pack. That's a good place for us.
Todd.
Well, we used to be behind. We're not behind anymore. We'll probably put in, on average, when a pump comes out, we probably have it in our development environment within 3 weeks or 4 weeks of a pump being released, and then it's moving through our regression and testing cycle and into production in probably about 4 weeks. And most of that timing is just for us to educate our business partners on any changes that might be coming, allow them to test the changes that they're expecting to be there if they impact stuff, and to really move it through and to really keep it at a small change level, which does make it so much easier to consume. And so, yeah, we used to be very kind of far behind. And that also goes with people tools. When you're talking about PeopleSoft, you have this other part of PeopleSoft, which is the people tools framework, that a new one of those comes out every year. Keeping up with that every year or every other year, like you want to be current, because when you call and complain about something not working right, it's always every vendor's first question about, like, well, are you on the latest version? Because we think it's fixed in the latest version, and prove us otherwise, and those sorts of things. We're just much easier to get support when you're on the latest version, and often you're being on the latest version does allow you to get over those headaches that you're having much quicker. So our strategy is to stay current, to be current. Now, so PUMs, we're current. We stay current. We feel really good about that. People tools, so we typically go about a year, and then do the people tools update. So we're getting ready to do one right now. I forget what version we're on, 8.5.9 or something like that, to 8.6.1 or something. 8.6.1 is just coming out, and so that's our. I hope I got those version numbers right. But I think we basically wait a year and then do one. So we may elect to skip every other People Tools version, but the time it takes to go through the regression testing on People Tools versions is much greater. So it is 6 weeks to 2 months process, and it really does impact our business units, and they don't have a lot of time to spend in that space. So that's why it, of course, takes more time. But we no longer have to worry about, all the different steps and memorizing those steps and figuring out how they're different. And we can simply focus on helping the business partners identify the things that have changed, identify the things that need to test, help with any changes or retrofits, and more on adopting new technology that's coming in. That's, hey, we used to have a customization for that. I don't think we need that anymore. I agree. Let's get rid of those. So we can be really lightweight in our customizations for sure. And we really are pretty lightweight there. We have a few add-on bolt-ons that we've developed just to add additional functionality in that ecosystem. But um, the managed services lets us focus not on the technical details, but on the business changes. That really is where when IT can focus on directly helping the business and not just the tech stuff directly, we're really adding another layer of support because we find that many of our functional areas are minimally staffed in that space.
Mhm. And I love seeing the optimism in your face as you hear Todd's story being, I love that, being a little bit further down the journey. Todd, I want to stick with you on this question. Some of the challenges you faced in your cloud migration journey, and then how did you overcome them?
Yeah, one of the things that I immediately think of is sizing or right sizing to the environment. What did we have before? How does it directly translate into this newer public cloud infrastructure from a performance standpoint? What metrics should we be looking at when we put out our RFP? We were talking about some integration broker level details with synchronous messages and didn't really talk about the asynchronous counts and the vice versa. And we found out that we kind of didn't tell the whole story of how much transactions and how much data we had moving back and forth in that pipeline. And um, so ERPA was like, "Whoa, this is a lot more than we expected. Than you said it was there." And I'm like, well, "You're right. We may have made a mistake. What does that mean?" No problem. We can, it's Amazon infrastructure as code allowed us to redeploy those environments, like I said, in 45 minutes to more higher performing. Oh, we can boost that. We can do this. We can do that. We can take on these different strategies to boost that performance where we needed it. We ran Oracle RAC on premise with multiple database nodes, which is not officially supported in AWS environments by Oracle. And so we had different strategies. Okay, how are we going to achieve the same performance? What kind of offerings does Amazon have for that? But also, how can we create, um, the feeling of disaster recovery and redundancy and high performance and quick failover? And can we do that? Can we still have that same level of support and safeguards in our Amazon environment? How do we build it? And some of that looked different, but some of it also was a lot easier. So it's like, hey, we're going to remove some of the technical complexity that we were licensing and leveraging to use a simpler strategy that works, and then we can programmatically make it work and work faster. So that's why our environment spread across AWS regions, if you're familiar with that. Our disaster recovery is in a different region. We can siphon data from our database to our local data warehouse, which we still maintain, from a replicated node that's out there with near real-time data. So we can still achieve all of these things, which is really nice. So sizing was something that we learned on the fly going into it. The other thing that we had to account for was cutover timing, right? How are we going to move this giant operation once tested and ready to go with current data into the new environment? And how are we going to do that really quickly and get that done? We did over a weekend, honestly. So minimal impact to the business, right? Can we move this over? Can we be sure it works? So we ran that playbook like 3 times to make sure that we really understood the different pieces of it. And with again with some of the cool functionality in Amazon and we were able to reset and go again, reset and go again. So we really knew and could hone in on that cut over, because we really wanted the cut over to be smooth, because that is the first kind of experience that your customers have with it, and you want them to be able to feel like, oh yeah, it just worked. That's nice. I came in on Monday. There's my stuff. I'm doing my quick checkouts. Yeah, it looks good. I'm giving a thumbs up, and that's really what we wanted. So those are things that we worried about for sure, and that's how we overcame them.
Good stuff. And if you would unmute yourself, and then I know you have a very interesting story to tell us here.
Yes, our migration, we actually signed the contract probably about 2.5 years ago to move to AWS. It took us until this last weekend to actually accomplish that. One of the biggest issues that we came across was we knew that we needed to revamp our invoicing process. We wrote our own billing software. It's not housed within PeopleSoft. It's our own proprietary software. Um, that data passes from our system, our proprietary system, to PeopleSoft. And when they originally wrote it, they wrote it to hit the PeopleSoft tables directly, which is always a bad idea. I don't care who you are, it's a bad idea. So we knew we needed to kind of look at that and revamp how we were doing it. The auditors were never pleased with it. It was a pain as far as the system processing went. It would lock things up. Um, so that was one of the things we knew we needed. And again, I think I mentioned, resources at CorVel are, difficult to come by. We want our IT staff working on the money making software and not on our little measly accounting system. So trying to get the resources, we thought we had everything lined up, and it just, new customers would come on and they needed some extra hand holding. They'd need some customizations. So trying to get that whole process rewritten. And of course, we have two lines of business. So the two billing systems coming together, both had to rewrite. So we finally got that in place. We did some testing. We had to roll it back a couple of times because things were taking a little bit longer. Um, One of the things that ERPA did for us right before we went live is they broke off the integration broker messages to have its own stream. So that was not interfering with the day-to-day activity that was happening. I heard from one of the gentlemen that worked on the big project. We had a revenue group go through that had over 70,000 lines in one batch through the new process on AWS. It took 15 minutes, which is faster than it did on-prem through the old method of hitting the tables directly. So that was a really fantastic proactive thing that ERPA did for us, and I'm really looking forward to some more of those bells and whistles and fixes in place to really get us up to speed and helping out the system or the people so that we can work with them and get them what they need.
I think it's been really nice to have really what I would call a deeper team of people available to us to track down and troubleshoot and enhance those types of issues. So, we have as part of our agreement, just some additional contract language that allows us to further contract ERPA to bring in professionals for dedicated support into our functional areas, which is where ultimately we need it. We go, hey, we're seeing some opportunities here. Have you got an expert that can come spend time with us in this space and really help us optimize and make it better and fix it? And we've had to do that a couple of times, and it has been worth it every time to just to get those I would describe it as those eyes lighting up again and being excited about the software that people are working with, because they kind of get in the day to day and the software's not that good and I'm not really sure, and it's like, wait, it actually, the software has so many bells and whistles. You this feature has been around for 5 years, you guys haven't turned it on. You haven't been using it. I didn't know it was there. I didn't have time to learn that. I missed it. All of those things where we can just be like, hey, you know what? Our partner is actually telling us go do this, and if we don't have someone to research and learn how to do it on our own, then they can bring us someone at a very affordable price, and it's just really nice and it's convenient, and that helps the information flow back and forth, I think, within our group. So it really is it's nice to have that kind of immediately connected larger ecosystem of knowledge that we can tap into for help. We run other products and other things in our own AWS tenant, but we often have asked questions and shared ideas back and forth with ERPA as a partner in that space, because we know, hey, you guys have been doing this a lot longer than we have, and we're really happy with the performance we have in the space. But there's some stuff that we are trying to do on our own. Can you help us? Can you help us? Understand what we're doing and how we're doing it. And they do, and it's that deeper connection, that deeper knowledge. Being able to tap into that, knowing that we couldn't have it all in house is really nice as well.
There you go, Ann. That's what you have to look forward to in this new
Absolutely.
beginning journey. That's good news, right? Okay, and this one, we have two more questions for our audience that's hanging on with us. Thank you so much. We've got about 5 more minutes left. So, Ann, let me start with you, and then Todd, then we'll get to our last question in a moment. How does your move to managed services reshape your support teams, Ann?
It's really enhanced our team. Again, I have two people that work for me. Between the three of us, we're supporting everything. We're trying to come up with the new bells and whistles and develop the application, work with the users, find their pain points. There's really nothing that we've thrown at ERPA that's been, hey, we were kind of thinking maybe we want to do this because our users are having X problem. And, working with ERPA, we've like got the collective brain going and we've come up with some really creative solutions on how to assist our customers, how to make the system work better for us, make it, work smarter, not harder. So that's really enhancing our team, and ERPA has helped increase the knowledge of my team as well. So, it's been a great benefit for everybody.
Great. Todd.
I talked about our team. We got some technical analysts, we have a couple admins, and we have some developers. Um, but it's where they're able to direct their focus to that knowledge that has changed that landscape for us and made it easier as well. We're directly connected to our ERPA cohorts via Teams chat, messaging. Like it's instant. Like, hey, I'm seeing this. Are you seeing that? Yeah, let's get on a call. Let's work on that together. It's very responsive, and the back and forth camaraderie and collaboration that's happening to make sure that we have a successful environment. So it really does feel in some ways like a larger team, that you're overall and you're all working together. You all have the same vision and for support and moving it forward, which is really gives us a level of comfort that we haven't had before with other vendors, and other vendors who are really like, call us between 8 and 5. And oh, by the way, when you call and you fill out that ticket, then yes, someone will get back to you within 30 minutes. And then it will still take 2 hours to get enough people to a call where you can actually look at and be like, yeah, I told you, see it, it's not working. Oh yeah, you're right. We can fix that, and so, it enables us to have a much more responsive support team, that we can, basically meet the customers where they're at, direct needs, and move quickly to nimbly, I would say, and smooth to rectify situations and improve and enhance the support that we do provide.
Along those same lines, Todd, for those who are dialed in and listening right now, based on your experience, what qualities would you recommend someone look for in a managed services partner? And then, Ann, you will wrap us up with your thoughts as well. Todd.
I think that you want someone who will give you good advice, but not force you down a path. If someone says, "Well, you can only do your maintenance on Saturdays every month on a certain Saturday," that doesn't really sound like they're trying to meet you with what you at or what you need. They should be asking you questions about, well, what do you have and how do you like to schedule and how do you like to work, and what makes the most sense for you. ERPA evolved our relationship too when it came to ticketing. We're like a ITIL foundations everyone talks ITIL, this, IT infrastructure library support ticket language, like that we were very honed in on. And they met us there, and they're like, oh yeah, we can change how we're doing that to make sure it meets with the standards that you guys are used to, and that actually is going to work better for our teams as well. So um, it is that back and forth camaraderie that allows you to develop a deeper level of trust and actually have a true partner. Like, how many of your vendor partners can you message your support tech, or all of your support techs, know them by name, know that they'll be there? Hey, we've got a problem going on in the system, or did you see this in the monitoring? Like, those are things, being nimble, upfront, and open with the like I said, infrastructure cloud costs. Like, that shouldn't be any kind of surprise. So what you know that you're really getting, or when you get to a managed services partner, is, what am I paying for that extra level team, that team of support? What support and expertise does that team provide, and on what kind of schedule can I expect that to be provided on, and what flexibility do I have in consuming those services to meet my needs? Those are definitely some of the questions that you want to ask in that space, and analyze to try to figure out, like, are they working for you, or are they selling you a controlled service? There's some things there to really fine grain and get into the details on, to make sure that you get someone who is really providing something of value back to you.
Good distinctions. Anne?
So we had a couple of really bad experiences with managed services. In fact, I had one of my project managers on the first managed services team that we had tell me, I just don't have time for your problems today. Well, isn't that kind of what we pay you for? Um, we really wanted that partnership, someone that would look out for us and our interests and help us grow, develop the system and the software to perform the way that we know that it can. Running a small team like we do, having that expertise on so many different things is so key. Being proactive in the approach that they take with us, making the suggestions. Hey, we really think that this would help. What do you think? Um, it's been life changing for us. I can't tell you how much it has changed uh, things at CorVel, from going from bad to this. It's crazy.
Well, we are at time. Anne and Todd, thank you so much for sharing your story and your expertise, your experience. This has been incredibly insightful, and it's benefited the dozens of folks who have dialed in. Thanks to those of you who have joined us today. We hope you found all of this discussion very helpful. Again, you're going to receive an email in a few business days with links to the recording and the slides. But you're also going to get an email survey right after the conclusion of this webinar. We'd be grateful if you took a moment to answer those questions. And on this slide I'm displaying right now, you'll see how you can follow us on LinkedIn or get a hold of us by visiting our website. That's it for now. Look for more webinars to come on a variety of topics of interest to those using PeopleSoft. And as for me, thank you. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.